He's a near unstoppable force of evil, so dangerous that on multiple occasions, Spider-Man and Venom have been forced to set aside their differences to put an end to his wrath. Let's take a look at the chaotic mind and twisted motivations of Carnage, one of Marvel's deadliest villains. Carnage is a product of the bond between a member of the symbiotic alien race known as the Clintar and Cletus Cassidy, a deranged serial killer who pushed his own grandmother down a flight of stairs as a child. Cassidy was sent to an orphanage, which he burned down. So he developed a lust for pure chaos and mayhem long before he ever came into contact with the symbiote. So when artists Eric Larson and Mark Bagley were seeking inspiration for the character's appearance and traits, they didn't have to look far. Writer David Michelinie conceived of Carnage as the closest thing to an irredeemably malevolent force as could exist in the Marvel Universe, so the artist modeled Cassidy on the Joker, who has long filled just such a role in the DC Universe.
I'm a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. I just do things.
Eddie Brock, separated from his Venom symbiote and sent to prison for his crimes, was Cassidy's cellmate. While waiting for the symbiote to spring him, Brock developed an antagonistic attitude toward the depraved Cassidy, beating him mercilessly on more than one occasion. The Venom symbiote did eventually manage to free Brock, but in the process, it spawned a new symbiote, leaving it behind in Cassidy's cell. This technically makes Carnage Venom's son. Unlike the contentious bond Brock shares with Venom, in which the two sometimes duel for control, Carnage sees its relationship with Cassidy as much more than symbiotic. It entered Cassidy's body through a cut, so the symbiote was able to bond with his bloodstream, making the two extremely difficult to separate. Unlike Venom, Carnage does not refer to itself as we. It's one entity. Venom's hatred of Carnage is so intense that it even overrides his hatred of Spider-Man. And as far as Carnage is concerned, the feeling is mutual. It might be tough to separate Carnage from Cassidy, but it has happened a few times. And when it has, Carnage had no problem bonding with other hosts. Its unpowered victims through the multiverse have included Gwen Stacy, John Jameson, and Dr. Tanis Nieves, the psychiatrist of Carnage's girlfriend, Shriek. Carnage has also bonded with superpowered people, a truly terrifying proposition. For one, it bonded with Ben Reilly, Spider-Man at the time, to create Spider-Carnage. The symbiote also once briefly bonded with the extremely powerful Silver Surfer to become Carnage Cosmic. In one of Peter Parker's worst nightmares come true, Carnage also once bonded with Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, to become the Red Goblin. Already greatly enhanced by his Goblin Serum, Osborn became exponentially more powerful with Carnage. Obsessed not just with killing Spider-Man but crushing his very soul, the Goblin threatened to slowly and painfully kill everyone Peter held dear unless he gave up his crime-fighting ways. After a brawl that left the Daily Bugle offices in shambles and Flash Thompson dead, Parker revealed his desperation by allowing the Venom symbiote to bond with him for one last shot at victory over the Red Goblin. On the brink of death, Peter was able to convince Osborn that Carnage, not the Goblin, would get all the credit for killing Spider-Man. Driven by ego, Osborn shredded the symbiote, which led to the villain's sound defeat. Clintar are generally indifferent or antagonistic toward their offspring, and Carnage is no exception. During the brief time the symbiote was in control of Dr. Nieves, it used her to find Cassidy, abandoning her for his original host but leaving its spawn behind, growing on her arm. Horrified, Nieves took drastic action and cut her arm off. But symbiotes don't give up easily, and it eventually rebonded with her to become the heroic Scorn, who has been a thorn in the side of her father on multiple occasions. Another of Carnage's offspring was outright rejected. Carnage, disgusted and enraged by its spawn, implanted it into New York police officer Paddy Mulligan during a chance encounter. Resolving to kill it before it could reach maturity, Carnage attacked Mulligan and his family, but was foiled by Spider-Man and Black Cat. Mulligan tracked the cat down for answers, but the pair once again came under attack by Carnage. This time, the new symbiote made its presence known. Calling itself Toxin, it single-handedly took down Carnage and Venom, and resolved to become a hero. The virtuous Mulligan had trouble containing the symbiote's homicidal urges, however, and after the officer was killed in battle, Toxin briefly bonded with Eddie Brock, and finally with Bren Waters. Venom and Carnage have battled countless times, with the latter's superior strength usually giving him the upper hand. but Venom has often outsmarted him. At one point, Cassidy was being held in a special prison designed to contain Carnage when Venom paid his son a visit. Cassidy could only gibber helplessly as Venom ripped the symbiote from his body and devoured it. Cassidy escaped and attempted to resume his reign of terror by painting himself red and embarking on yet another killing spree as a makeshift Carnage. He was easily defeated by Spider-Man, but Cassidy was given new hope. A failed invasion of Earth by the interdimensional beings of the Negative Zone reactivated dormant traces of the symbiote within his bloodstream. Finding his way through a portal to the Negative Zone, Cassidy was mysteriously guided to a second symbiote, apparently identical to his first, and enthusiastically allowed it to bond with him, becoming Carnage once again. During the events of the Avengers X-Men Axis crossover event, the moral alignments of a number of heroes and villains were magically switched. This had a profound effect on Carnage, who found himself saddled with an overwhelming desire to help people and do good, despite having literally no idea how. He abducted local reporter Alice Gleason to tutor him in the ways of being a hero, after barely restraining him from killing a couple of random thugs. But even under her strict guidance, Carnage tended to get his wires crossed. For example, when Carnage and Alice came across a bank being robbed, the symbiote heroically thwarted the robbery, before attempting to burn down the bank to prevent future robberies. While apparently developing romantic feelings for Alice, Carnage was constantly distracted by fantasies of her dying. During a climactic battle in New York, Carnage apparently sacrificed himself for the good of the city. But of course, such deaths are almost always temporary in the Marvel Universe. And it wouldn't be long before Cassidy appeared once again, back to his old homicidal ways. Marvel's Ultimate line of comics, which began publication in 2000, updated some of its most popular characters and storylines for a new generation of readers. It took place in a different continuity than the mainstream Marvel universe, and while it is now defunct, some of its more popular original characters, namely Miles Morales, managed to survive the destruction of their home universe and have come over to the main Marvel U.
So I'm Spider-Man. I'm not the only one.
In the Ultimate Universe, symbiotes weren't an alien race. Instead, they were the result of a genetic experiment by Peter Parker's father, Richard, and Eddie Brock Sr. The first of these symbiotes was Venom, and its relationship to Peter and Eddie Jr. played out much the same way it did in the main continuity. Carnage, however, was created in a lab by Dr. Kurt Connors, who had the bright idea to combine some of Peter's DNA with a sample of Venom, along with his own lizard-mutated DNA. The result was a fearsome beast which could only survive by feeding on humans, and was obsessed with consuming Spider-Man to complete its DNA sequence. It even ate Gwen Stacy, then created an exact genetic replica of her to serve as its host. This version of Carnage was itself eventually consumed by Venom. On a couple of the rare occasions in which Marvel has teamed up with rival publisher DC for crossovers, Carnage has been involved. He notably teamed up with his inspiration, the Joker, for the 1995 one-shot Spider-Man and Batman Disordered Minds. The team-up was short-lived. Although they seemed like the perfect evil pairing, Carnage butted heads with the Clown Prince of Crime early, and often due to the Joker's tendency towards theatrics and his own preference for wanton slaughter. Carnage found the Joker's methods to be tedious and unsatisfying, while the Joker found Carnage to be a hack. Carnage also made his presence known in the Amalgam line of comics, an imprint in which Marvel and DC heroes and villains were combined to create new mashup characters. Carnage was mashed up with Superman nemesis Bizarro to create Bizarnage. The creature wreaked indiscriminate havoc until it was eventually tricked and defeated by Spider-Boy, himself a mashup of Spider-Man and Superboy. Carnage's surprise cameo in the 2018 Venom feature film promised that
There's gonna be carnage.
it raised the character's profile, so Marvel brought him back to the comics page with a Web of Venom Carnage-born one-shot. Its story deals with a cult attempting to resurrect the villain after his death in the Venomized storyline. And if that's not dark enough, it's implied Cassidy was a cannibal before fusing with a symbiote. The issue's solicitation states, a cruel cannibal obsessed with death and murder, few mourned Cletus Cassidy after he seemingly died in Venomized. With the second Venom movie subtitled Let There Be Carnage, it's no surprise that Marvel Comics is giving us a revamped and even darker version of the character. Though it should be noted Carnage had some pretty dark comics appearances well before. Venom Let There Be Carnage is primed to give us a cinematic villain for the ages, and it certainly doesn't hurt that the great Woody Harrelson is filling the role. Carnage has starred in plenty of miniseries, one-shots, and even line-wide events based on his bloody exploits. But the release of 2016's Carnage Issue 1 gave the crazed symbiote his first ongoing monthly series. It also marks the Marvel return of writer Jerry Conway, his first work on a regular Marvel series since the 90s. The series finds the title villain lured to Grey Ridge Mine with Manuela Calderon, the sole survivor of Cletus Cassidy's very first mass killing, as bait. But when the owner of the mine turns out to have his own agenda, Carnage and some of the agents tasked with capturing him fall into the mine. Calderon, Eddie Brock, John Jameson, and FBI Special Agent Claire Dixon follow Carnage into the depths, where a strange cult called the Darkholders wait with their own plans. Most of the series' 16 issues revolve around an unexpected mystical and prophetic connection between Carnage and an ancient Lovecraftian god. Before the end, Carnage gets a power boost, and one of the heroes chasing him becomes part of the violent symbiote family. In the Venom series that debuted in 2018, it's revealed that the Clintar symbiotes are not just an alien species, but parasites created by the eldritch god Null to do his bidding. So after the cult of Null resurrects Carnage in Web of Venom Carnage Born, they reveal that every human on Earth to ever bond with a symbiote has what they call a codex embedded in their DNA. If Carnage collects all these codexes, he will become the vessel for Null on Earth and be able to conquer the world. After a lot of bloodshed, including the deaths of a superhero or two, Venom kills Cletus in 2020's Absolute Carnage Issue 5, but in doing so ensures the eventual assault on Earth by Null. Venom has to resolve that in the King in Black event, where Carnage plays only a small role. Carnage became a meal for sharks in Carnage, Black, White, and Blood, but Extreme Carnage Issue 1 reveals that a piece of the symbiote survived at the bottom of the ocean. It bonds with a fish and works its way up the chain to eventually bond with xenophobic Senator Peter Crane, who's seeking an end to harboring any and all extraterrestrial aliens on US soil. Carnage uses Senator Crane's voice to seize the wills of various symbiotes over the television airwaves. Standing against them are Flash Thompson, now Agent Anti-Venom, and Andy Benton, the former host of the symbiote Scream. After crippling her symbiote with hellfire to stop it from following Carnage's orders, she rebonds with an alternate version of the symbiote, now calling itself Silence. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about your favorite Marvel characters are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.